Continuing our coverage of the sudden death of actor Alan Thicke, you just heard from someone who witnessed this medical emergency that happened yesterday around this time. We're bringing in now practicing cardiologist Dr. Kevin Campbell, a frequent guest of our program. And Dr. Campbell, I couldn't think of anybody better to talk to about this. I mean, we talk often, but I mean, what a sudden, devastating thing to have happen. And you heard the description by Darren, who works at the rink, who said Alan Thicke was feeling poorly. They had to call 911. But he was talking, and he was explaining how he was feeling, and he gave a thumbs up going into the ambulance as they wheeled him out. He was sitting up. You know, he wasn't expecting to get the news that he passed away. So I'm just curious, as a cardiologist, is that typical?
You know, it's not uncommon for people to have chest pain or angina or angina, where they have chest pain, shortness of breath, numbness, and the nausea that he experienced, because what that is a blockage in an artery to the heart that's beginning to close. And then what happens is it completely closes, and you have this heart attack that probably occurred with Mr. Thicke while he was in the ambulance. And, you know, associated with that is a sudden death heart rhythm called ventricular fibrillation. And unfortunately, I'm guessing that's what happened. And
we don't know exactly all the specifics at this time, but just so that our viewers know, I think this is where we're kind of getting to the, you know, how do we take this story and do some good? Meaning, we know it's a holiday season. We love it that we're all happy during this time, but it also can be a really stressful time. And we can find ourselves doing some unusual things, unusual activities. And so I'm just wondering if there's any warning signs of a catastrophic event like that coming on.
There are. So if you experience chest pain with exertion, if you get shortness of breath with exertion, maybe you get an atypical pain in your jaw, maybe you get pain down your arm, all of these can represent heart pain. And in women, sometimes the symptoms are even more vague. It could be nausea, feeling of dread. You have to know your risk and interpret those symptoms within, you know, what is your risk for heart disease.
One of the interesting things that Darren just told us, too, is that, you know, in maybe another situation, you might think that this guy would be totally fine, that maybe he wouldn't go off into the ambulance. You know, if we're at a dinner table and someone starts feeling well but says, you know, I don't need the ambulance. I just, you know, I'm feeling a little bit off. How do you know when it's a real emergency?
You know, I think anytime you're a patient who has any risk factors for heart disease and you have something like Mr. Thicke had with chest pain and nausea, you need to call 911 immediately. It's better to be evaluated and find out that everything's okay than not, because, you know, sudden cardiac death kills 450,000 Americans every single year, the #1 cause of death in the United States today.
I think we also thank Dr. Campbell because of the amazing things we can do in the ER and obviously in the medical field that, oh, well, people don't die of heart attacks so suddenly. Like, there's so many things we can do to save them. But it seems like what you're saying in some cases is just not possible.
You know, we have made great advances in medicine to where if we can get that patient to the hospital fast enough and I can get him into a cardiac cath lab and open that artery with a balloon and a stent, we can stop that heart attack in its tracks. But in this case, as he was being transported, I think probably what happened is he had a lethal heart rhythm called ventricular fibrillation, and we weren't able to get him to the cath lab to fix that blocked artery.
What if one of our viewers is listening and thinking, well, I don't think I have a history of heart disease. You know, I don't think my family does. I don't think I do. I haven't been to the doctors in a while. I'm just thinking about the folks that might be listening to you right now. So if you have some of those questions, how do you find answers, #1? And if you could, Dr. Campbell, just review for us, you know, what would be for you as someone that practices on a regular basis, the #1 warning flag?
You know, for me, I think that you need to know the risk factors: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, prior history of heart disease, family history of heart disease, obesity. If you have those risk factors, you may need to talk to your doctor and ask those questions. Am I at risk? Also, if you have any kind of symptoms such as chest pain, shortness of breath on exertion, any type of exertional pain, you need to see a doctor, because I want everybody to be safe over this holiday season.
Oh, it's such a good reminder. You know, we just want to be reminded. We get some clarity, be reminded, and act on that information if it does come up. Dr. Campbell, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Your expertise means a lot to us. Thank you.